Hello and welcome. I'm Divya Vijaykumar and I'm delighted to be presenting at this year's Storage Developer Conference. So it's a really special this time, in that the year being 2020. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I hope everyone is home and safe amid this tough situation going around the globe. On that note, let's dive into the presentation. It's titled Dynamic Storage Provisioning in Kubernetes. My colleague Arun and I authored this paper, and we are from MSys Technologies. I also have my notes right here to refer to just in case. So before we move to the actual presentation, just a quick couple of words about MSys Technologies. We specialize in product engineering services and digital transformation. We also design and develop distributed systems and complex ecosystem integrations. We have a lot of accolades adding to our bucket, some being the Red Herring Asia 100 Award, and we're also one of the top fastest growing storage companies for 2 consecutive years now. We have our offices spread across the world. On that note, let us move to the agenda of this presentation. Main agenda would be storage implementation in Kubernetes via CSI drivers, leveraging persistent volume in containers, and then managing this volume and monitoring it, and finally, what's in store next. Let us now move to the concept, which is dynamic volume provisioning. So before we actually see what this concept is, let me tell you why we chose this concept for our work. So Kubernetes is a significant container orchestrator system that is in place and that plays a significant place in the market today. So a pod in a Kubernetes is the smallest working unit. So say I create a setup and I have some work happening inside the pod. And then once the setup is destroyed, the pod is also gone and the data inside is also gone. In order to persist this data, we went for the concept of provisioning volume. We can either go with static volume provisioning or dynamic. The problem with static volume is like we have to manually provision and create the volume objects. So that means more work for the user. So we went with dynamic volume provisioning. So what exactly is this concept? Dynamic provisioning of volume allows storage volumes to be created on demand. Like previously custom management, it was a manual process. Like we have to contact a storage provider in order to create new storage volumes. And then the persistent volume objects would be used inside Kubernetes. But with dynamic volume provisioning, this eliminated the need for the cluster managers to pre-provision storage. Instead, it automatically provisions the storage whenever it is requested by the users. So generally, the persistent volume types are implemented as plugins. Kubernetes currently supports many plugins, CSI, NFS, Cinder, AWS, EBS, and Azure, etc. So there are three key components that we'll be discussing more and more on this presentation. The first one being storage class, the second being persistent volume, and the third being persistent volume claim. So what exactly is the storage class? It is a way of provisioning different classes of storage to the administrators. That's simple. Just a way of provisioning classes of storage. So in order to create the volume objects, right, like PV and PVC, the storage class uses some fields like provisioner parameters, etc. So this persistent volume, which will henceforth be called as PV, is the kind of storage which is either provisioned by an administrator or dynamically provisioned using a storage class. The next one, PVC, the persistent volume claim. That is a request for storage by a user. Say I have 100 gig in my storage class, and as a user, I request for 10 gig for my application. So that request is called a PVC. So the claims can request specific size and access modes like read, write, etc. What exactly is the relationship SC, PV, PVC? We have some concepts like namespace, some advanced concepts like config map, secret, which will help in managing confidential data in Kubernetes. We also have different sets like replica sets, daemon sets, stateful sets, etc. They were all used inside this application, but we are going to mainly focus on volume provisioning here. We implemented the concept of stateful sets in Kubernetes, mainly for data generating applications. Like our application is an end-to-end one, like which involved right from the beginning of incoming data to processing the data, pre-packaging and posting it inside the database, which in turn will be available from a UI. So this is like a complete data in which there are a couple of applications which are data generating and really complex. We implemented stateful sets for those applications. So this YAML file or the manifest, Kubernetes manifest file will have the PVC claim request. This in turn will contact the storage class, which will provide a persistent volume, which will provision a volume, which in turn will be bound to this PVC, and the final storage will be available for the user for deployment of the pod that they originally asked it for. Just a quick relationship diagram. Let's see here. So say my Kubernetes manifest file, the stateful set, it consists of the user requirement as a PVC template. So this contacts the storage class. This is provisioned by CSI. This is where the concept of CSI comes to play. So this in turn creates a PV and allocates PVC and binds to this PVC. Binds to this PV, sorry. So the allotted PVC is bound to its persistent volume, and the final available storage will now be used by the pod or deployment or stateful set, whatever requested in the first place. This is the whole architecture diagram, not like an architecture, like a relationship diagram that we leveraged here. So we talked about the concept of CSI plugin. What exactly is the CSI plugin? Let us see. So CSI is the container storage interface. It is a plugin for container orchestrators to allow storage providers to expose their products as persistent storage in a containerized environment. That is, CSI is essentially an interface between container workloads and third-party storage. Say I have my external third-party storage somewhere, and I have my container workloads which are in need of that storage. The CSI will help in, it facilitates getting that storage to the container workloads. It also helps in manipulation of its input, output, creation and configuration of these persistent storage and some advanced functionality as well. So in short, CSI is an initiative to unify the storage interface of container orchestrator systems. There are multiple systems like Kubernetes, Docker Swarm, Cloud Foundry, combined with storage vendors like Ceph, Meta, and so on. So it unifies the storage interface of the orchestrators combined with the storage providers. So implementing a single CSI for a storage vendor is guaranteed to work across all orchestrators. So this is just a simple architectures of CSI. So in our application, we implemented 5-node Kubernetes cluster, as in we have a multi-master setup. So we have 3 masters and 2 slave nodes. This is essentially to enable load balance. So this is our Kubernetes core, which is our cluster setup. And then this cluster with CSI itself is divided into the Kubernetes core. And then this external component, which is solely implemented and managed by Kubernetes team. And finally, the third-party component, which is the CSI. So we have some components here, right? Like the driver registrar, external provisioner, and external attacher in the external component, like Kubernetes component. So this driver registrar is a sidecar which contains a sidecar container which registers the CSI driver with kubelet in the node. Whereas the external provisioner, it watches the Kubernetes PVC objects, it keeps watching for it and triggers the CSI create volume, delete volume operations. And then the external attacher, that is a sidecar container as well, which watches the Kubernetes volume attachment objects and triggers the CSI publish, unpublish operations. And coming to the third party component. So with this Kubernetes external component, like the storage vendors need not worry about implementation details at all because Kubernetes team takes care of that. Coming to the third party component, which is CSI, which has sub components like CSI identity, controller, and node. So this identity takes care of identifying the plugin service, ensuring its health, etc. The controller is responsible for controlling and managing the volume, like say creating volume, deleting volume, attaching, snapshotting, etc. And the CSI node. So this CSI node is responsible for controlling the volumes action in the Kubernetes node. It takes care of the volumes action inside the Kubernetes node. So we have the storage and the Kubernetes setup. The CSI in the middle helps in enabling provisioning this volume to Kubernetes. So that is what this is about. So let us move to PVPVC implementation in our setup. How did we implement it in our application? So PVC in Kubernetes manifest is, like I mentioned, a persistent volume claim is simply a volume requirement but from the user. So there are different ways to deploy it and implement in Kubernetes. One is to create a volume manifest file itself and just use it on a CLI command like kubectl create -f, the YAML file. Or the second is to implement the volume block inside the stateful sets YAML file directly. Small block on how we implemented it is shown here. Like inside the subset of volume claim templates, we have to mention the name of the volume and access modes and the storage class name, which storage class we have to contact to get this. And then the storage requirement, like 10 gig. When it comes to so when it comes to the PVC state, like I mentioned, it has to be in bound state. A PVC has to be bound to its PV from the storage class. Only when the status is bound, it means that the volume is ready and we can use it. The volume name, whatever is mentioned here, this can also be viewed on the array GUI, wherever the storage is created for us. Like the size created and the size remaining. So far, everything can be viewed on the GUI in case the GUI is present. We can also get it like kubectl get PVC -n. N is the namespace. Okay, namespace here is like creating an environment. Like I can create one on my name and Arun can create one on his, and we'll have our own environment to use the same cluster setup. That way, provisioning infrastructure becomes a lot easier with Kubernetes. So when we get PVC, we can see that the name of it, for example, I use PostgreSDB and the status is bound and then the volume name. So here I've given the capacity as 30 gig with the storage class name. So this is how we can view whether it is created and what the status of the PVC is. And generally, it is a general practice to attach the array volume to data generating applications and not to small applications. So these compound applications which need external volume can be created in as stateful sets or deployment rather than a pod individually. This is mainly because when a pod goes down, we may not, we might have to create it new. Whereas when created as a deployment or a stateful set, Kubernetes automatically takes care of creating another pod automatically with the configuration present. So this essentially maintains the life cycle of the pod. Some examples are like database and processing applications, and we can get the stateful sets STS with the same command as get STS. And we can see here like it is 2 of 2. The 2, in fact, is the number of replica of the pod. So meaning both the replicas are ready. So we saw what is CSI, how we implemented CSI. Now we'll see why we went with CSI. So in order to avoid manual creation like in static, we went with dynamic provisioning. This dynamic provisioning itself can be done with multiple approaches. One was with CSI drivers, the other is host path provisioning, NFS provisioning, etc. We also tried with host path method before arriving as CSI as the best approach for us. Like the storage class, which runs in the cluster, right? It keeps monitoring for any PVC request. And as soon as it gets a request, it creates a PV and like for whatever matching PVC at runtime, and then bind it to the allotted volume of the pod. In our scenario, we pre-created storage name called the host path, and the host path parameter was set to some folder. So usually the quick and the easiest way to create go with dynamic volume provisioning is to create it with a host path provisioning method, because the data directly, like the storage data, whatever we create, is not external and it gets stored on the host directly. But in our scenario, the influx of data was so huge that we couldn't go with the host machine or the host path provisioner method, because it actually caused the host machine to be really lagging, and the other tasks were not going on as to its full potential. So this was a huge drawback for us. In fact, the host path method was not able to handle such a huge amount of data. So we decided, okay, let us opt for CSI because of all these drawbacks. So when provisioning volume for a huge framework, so this is what we are proposing. When we are going with a huge framework with a huge amount of data to be processed or incoming, processed, stored, everything. And if it is huge and complex, which needs to be orchestrated with Kubernetes, then CSI driver is the best approach to manage the data store as per our research work. So storage provision via CSI drivers was external to the host, so that it was very easy to create as part of the manifest file also. It was like creating any other resource, pod or a service or a volume. It just has to be linked, and the storage was elsewhere. So it was really easy for us as well. And one other thing is like CSI can also be, the CSI plugin can also be created from the scratch. Like it can be developed by writing code from the scratch, or it can be provisioned from any already existing array in place. We used an external array provided CSI plugin. So with the significant orchestrator features that we implemented, I'm just going to quickly run through this. Like I already mentioned, we have self-healing Kubernetes cluster. We have a 5-node multi-master setup. In that, one of the masters goes down or one of the pods goes down, Kubernetes automatically redeploys it with zero downtime. That's actually pretty amazing. And then we have a rolling update. Say I'm using a pod with a container image with certain features, and I need to enhance one of the features. So I'll create another container image, and I just have to give kubectl set image command, and it will automatically be updated to the newest version. And in case I find some errors or issues with the new version, I can roll it back to the previous version with the kubectl rollout history command. We can also mention the revision number of revisions that I have to roll it out to. And one other important support for CSI is raw block volume. So this CSI plugin itself is it is in development stage. Like it is stable. It has been used for many complex infrastructure, but then it is also being regularly developed from one version to another. One important feature that we are looking at is raw block volume. So generally Kubernetes has two volume modes, which is file system and block. File system is what we have been using because that is a default mode. But in case I need to use a block of volume, then I just have to mention one more parameter named volume mode equal to block. Like in the same YAML file, you just have to mention this. So how do we manage this volume? Management and monitoring. One quick way to implement is involve any monitoring tool. Prometheus being a straightforward monitoring tool and also being widely used in all Kubernetes designs. Prometheus can be run as deployment, and node exporters can be run as daemon set. That immediately the metrics of the minion nodes will start populating. Prometheus is really quick that way as well. One other way of managing the volume is volume expansion. The concept of volume expansion is, say I requested for 10 gig of data, and halfway down my work, I realized that 10 gig is not enough. I need more. Then I can just patch some external additional volume to the existing PVC memory. That is called this volume expansion. So the volume that we created before, right, like the PVC, get PVC name. So this is our array UI, wherein we can check whether it is created and how much is available, the size of the volume, etc. So this is the name of the volume. So if the allotted volume is about to be exhausted, I just have to mention allow volume expansion as true, and then I can patch it with this command kubectl patch. So from 10 gig to 64 gig, then I can just mention storage and 64 gig. It will say PVC volume patched, and it's that simple. So the future. Now we saw how we implemented CSI and how we leverage persistent volume concept in Kubernetes cluster. So what's in store for future? What's in store for Kubernetes with volume provisioning concepts? These days, no application, we are far away from monolithic applications where everything is running in one system and all management happens in just one hardware or one VM. Now, all the services are dissociated. They are isolated and running as separate systems, but still coming together to form a cluster and form coming together as one system. Even though we have external storage, external components coming in, we have them running as cluster and functional, which is what is important. So I think the future of volume provisioning in Kubernetes is mainly leveraging the components of the storage architecture. So just like I mentioned, dissociating the applications from a traditional design and then empowering them to run individually, but still bringing them all together as one setup. Some components even being external. I think that is the new vision of all orchestrators. So on that note, I would like to end this presentation. Thank you so much. I've mentioned the references here. And also a quick word about me and Arun. Both of us specialize in Docker and Kubernetes, while I specialize in DevOps and Python. Arun specializes in embedded and storage domain. Thank you so much for your time and for listening to us. We are open to taking any questions. Thanks.